Japan, home to some of the most technical, profound, and intriguing aspects of human creation. But where creativity has led to incredible advancement in infrastructure and entertainment, the basic nature of fear has generated some truly fiendish legends and myths. Though the human mind is limited strictly to its own prison of sights, sounds, and experiences, where do these nightmares originate? Today, we're counting down the 10 most terrifying and haunted locations in the land of the rising sun. Number 10. Okiku's Well, Himeji Castle. Himeji Castle is a flatland mountain Japanese castle complex located in Himeji in Hyogo Prefecture and comprising 83 wooden buildings. It is occasionally known as the White Heron Castle because of its brilliant white exterior. The story goes, in the 17th century, Okiku was a beautiful woman who worked at the castle and was the favorite servant of her great lord. Her devotion to him ran deep, and she harbored a secret desire to be loved by him. Her tragedy began when she overheard one of her lord's chief retainers plotting to overthrow and kill the lord of Himeji and usurp the castle. Horrified, she revealed the plot to kill the lord instantly. Although her fast action had saved the lord's life, the chief retainer had escaped and learned of Okiku's role in averting the assassination. He was determined to take his revenge. Part of Okiku's duties was the care of 10 precious plates, a collection particularly treasured by the lord. Beautifully gilded and of incalculable worth, it was a great honor for Okiku to be given the sole care and responsibility for this collection. The retainer managed to steal one of the plates, thereby raising a suspicion that Okiku had stolen it. She was tried for the crime and found guilty. To add to her misery, the lord she had loved and whose life she had saved granted permission for the traitorous retainer to torture Okiku to death in a series of horrific and sexually degrading acts. Finally, Okiku's dead body was thrown into the well. The betrayal, heartbreak, and humiliation of Okiku's death ensured that her soul could find no peaceful repose. Her ghost, or Yurei, began to haunt the well into which her mutilated body had been thrown. In the early hours of every morning, the classic time for Yurei hauntings is between 2 and 3 a.m., her voice would wake the lord from his sleep in the dungeon. As she counted the precious plates from 1 to 9, breaking into unearthly, ear-piercing screaming and wailing before she reached 10. This nightly torture ultimately resulted in the complete breakdown of the lord's mental health, who had soon discovered Okiku's innocence and knew her death had been wrongful. Today, there are still those who say that they have heard Okiku's howls in the still quiet hours of the early morning. The brutality of her murder and the profound sense of betrayal she felt are still so strong that she remains imprisoned by her own earthly emotions, her soul unable to find peace. Number 9. Doryodo Ruins. Located in Atsugi Park, in Hachioji, Tokyo, this was the site of a temple that was once very popular but was dismantled in 1983, 20 years after an elderly woman was murdered there. In addition, In 1973, the body of a university student was dumped here after she was murdered by a professor whom she was having an affair. It is said the spirit of a murdered woman roams this site of temple ruins, looking for justice, or maybe vengeance. They say you can still hear her crying over the ruins. Number 8. SSS Curve. Deep within the mountains of Okinawa rests a desolate path called the SSS Curve, located extraordinarily close to a local Ryukyuan religious sect cemetery. Those who have ventured through this sanctuary have reported multiple incidences of paranormal photography and experiences. This video shows an elderly resident and his experiences with the phenomena. He reports feeling a strong sense of weight on his shoulders before retreating to a safer distance. Number 7. Hiroshima. On Monday, August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the nuclear bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima by an American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, directly killing an estimated 80,000 individuals. By the end of the year, injury and radiation brought total casualties to 90,000 to 140,000 humans. Approximately 69% of the city's buildings were completely destroyed, and about 7% severely damaged. The actual site of the atomic bomb drop, or Ground Zero, where the nuclear bomb blast that ended World War II is thought to be a paranormal hotspot with what many claim is the residual hauntings and auditory phenomenon left behind after the event. Supernaturally sensitive visitors have reported hearing cries and screams lingering from that horrific day. Number 6. Old Chusetsu Tunnel in Fukuoka. This out-of-service tunnel is a popular place to dare someone to walk into. Word has it that this was the same scene of a gruesome murder, and after entering, you can hear a voice say, "Stop." Unfortunately, it looks like no voice has tried to stop this person from walking through. Number 5. Amiidaji, Temple of Amida. Amiidaji, or the Temple of Amida, in Dan-no-ura, in the Shimonoseki Strait, is the location of a legendary haunting. It is said that the blind Biwa Hoshi Hochi, a resident of the temple, was visited every night by the ghost of a dead samurai who demanded that the minstrel play for his lord. The retainer led the blind Hochi into what appeared to be the home of some powerful noblemen, where a performance of the Tale of Haki was requested. Hochi's performance was met by high praise and moved his audience to tears. He was asked to return the next evening for a follow-up recital. Before the retainer returned him to his temple, Hochi was told that the nobleman for whom he had been playing was traveling incognito and was warned not to speak of the evening's events. The following evening, the samurai returned to Hochi's quarters and led him back to the nobleman. However, this time, Hochi's appearance was discovered by his friend, the priest of Amiidaji Temple. The priest grew suspicious and instructed his servants to look after Hochi the next night. When they saw him leaving the temple, the servants gave chase and eventually found Hochi playing his biwa furiously in the middle of an Amiidaji cemetery. When they dragged him back to the temple, Hochi explained the previous night's events to the priest. Realizing that Hochi had been bewitched by ghosts, the priest vowed to save his friend from further trickery. He painted Hochi's body with the kanji characters of the Heart Sutra for protection, and instructed him to remain silent and motionless when he is called upon his ghostly audience. That evening, the samurai called for Hochi as before, and was angered when he received no response. The ghostly samurai approached Hochi, but was unable to see anything but his ears. The sutra had rendered the rest of Hochi's body invisible. Attempting to comply with orders, the samurai ripped Hochi's ears off, as proof that they had been the only portion of the lute player that was available. After the ghostly retainer had left, Hochi was still too frightened to react, despite the blood gushing from the wounds on his head. When the priest returned, he realized in dismay that he had neglected to write the sutra on Hochi's ears, which had left them vulnerable to the spirit. Despite his injury, Hochi's ordeal had freed him from the spirit's tower, and he went on to recover from his wounds and become a famous musician. Number 4. Round Schoolhouse Ruins. This circular schoolhouse in Bai Bay, Hokkaido, is a documented abandoned and haunted structure. Stories say people who dare go inside emerge insane or have disappeared forever. Number 3. Atsugi Naval Base. Located 2 hours south of Tokyo, Atsugi Naval Base has a secret past, which includes the fact that it was a CIA U-2 base which housed the U-2 flown over Russia by Gary Powers in the early 1960s. In 1957, Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of John F. Kennedy, was stationed at Atsugi as a Marine radar operator. It is reported that there are many spirits who wander aimlessly from room to room and said to be the most haunted naval or military base in the world. Many of the actual ghosts are thought to be those from the ancient past as well as contemporary times. The most frightening ghost occurrences are those of a ghostly samurai that attacks individuals by slapping them, then disappearing. Number 2. Military Camp Hansen, Gate Number 3. It is reported every weekend at night, a soldier dressed in World War II gear, with blood all over his fatigues, a cigarette in hand, would ask the gate guard the same question. Got a light? If the guard were to light the cigarette for the soldier, the unknown soldier would immediately evaporate into a cloud of mist. Number 1. Aokigahara, the Suicide Forest. Aokigahara, also known as the Sea of Trees, is a forest that lies at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan. The perfect place to die. That's how Aokigahara was described in Wataru Tsuruhumi's best-selling book, The Complete Manual of Suicide. A dense, dark forest bordering Mount Fuji, Aokigahara is infamous throughout Japan as a popular spot for those taking their final journey. Reportedly the world's second most popular suicide location after San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge, due in some part to the novel Korai Jukai, or The Black Forest, which ends with the lovers of the novel committing suicide in the forest. Since the 1950s, More than 500 people have lost their lives in the forest, mostly through suicides, with approximately 30 suicides counted yearly. The forest floor consists primarily of volcanic rock and is difficult to penetrate with hand tools such as picks or shovels. There are also a variety of unofficial trails that are used semi-regularly for the annual body hunt done by local volunteers. They mark their search areas with plastic tape. The plastic tape is never removed, so a great deal of it litters the first kilometer of the forest, past the designated trails leading to and from the known tourist attractions, such as the Ice Cave and Wind Cave. After the first kilometer into Aokigahara towards Mount Fuji, the forest is in much more pristine state, with little to no litter and few obvious signs of human contact. On some occasions, human remains can be found in the distant reaches of the forest, but these are usually several years old and consist of scattered bones and incomplete skeletons, suggesting the presence of scavenging animals. Ghost encounters of the wandering dead are said to be often encountered more than just frequently, as well as many ghost photos and EVPs. Many also will tell you to look at the trees carefully, because you can see the actual faces and images of the cursed dead in the bark. So, are you reconsidering visiting the land of the almighty pocket monster? And what haunted locations do you know of that didn't make the list? What do you think the next countdown should be? Leave a comment in the comment section below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more spooktastic adventures here on Let's Read.